If this is true, the Sox might be building a dream rotation. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and in today's video, we're going to be going over all the latest rumblings surrounding the Boston Red Sox, including one that states the Red Sox might be really going for it when it comes to free agent pitchers, and also another one that talks about whether or not they could be going for one of the top righties on the open market. But before we get into that, just a heads up, we are going to be live tonight right here on this channel. We're going to be going over everything surrounding the Boston Red Sox, answering all your questions, talking about the latest on Juan Soto, and obviously much, much more. Again, that is going to be tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this channel. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. So the reports we're going to be talking about in today's video both come from the same place, and that is an article by none other than Bob Nightingale, which right off the bat makes these a little bit iffy, right? Bob has certainly had his moments of not so much sunshine in free agency, especially over the last couple of years. There have been some very funny moments with Bob Nightingale, but there have been some times where he has been on the pulse a bit. We do have to take our time with these conversations and talk about him and break them down, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And I think we're going to start with the pitching side of things, because in this report, Bob Nightingale had an entire segment on the Boston Red Sox that read, "No one is boasting about the Red Sox plans to suddenly spend money and dive into the deepest end of the free agent waters more than the Boston Red Sox." Now, I'm not going to get too excited about this quote, although that is a fantastic line from Bob Nightingale. But what I really want to do is just simply add this to the pile of other reporters, both nationally and locally, who have been talking about the Red Sox legitimately investing in this team this offseason. Oh, there's smoke around the Boston Red Sox. It is starting to billow out of those tree line, folks, and this is just another piece onto that fire. He then went on to say, this is why they met with Soto, told everyone how it went, and informed agents that they not only want to sign one of the marquee free agent pitchers in Burnes, Fried, and Snell, but actually want to sign two. They are adamant on signing at least one lefty between Fried and Snell. I mean, we knew the Red Sox were gunning for one of these guys. They've been connected to every single one of them already this offseason, getting as far as a meeting already with Blake Snell, but two of the marquee free agents would be an absolute dream. Just imagine what a 2025 opening day rotation would look like if it was Burnes, Snell, Houck, Bayo, or Giolito, or Burnes, Fried, Houck, Bayo, Giolito. That is easily one of the top rotations in the entire sport right now, and it kind of sounds like they want Burnes and then one of either Fried or Snell, which I find kind of interesting because right off the bat, I don't know, as much as I love Corbin Burnes, if he's the best fit with the Red Sox or something the Red Sox would be willing to do. He's going to get a pretty massive contract in free agency, and the Red Sox have been snake bitten a couple of times over the last few years with longer aging pitching contracts. So I'm curious as to why they've been so heavily connected to Corbin Burnes. But either way, I am not complaining, right? The big question ends up becoming, how realistic is this report from Bob Nightingale? And it does sound absolutely batty, right? This sounds like something that would never happen for the Boston Red Sox, but you look at it and I don't know. I'm not going to put this in the impossible category. One of the big reasons for that is because we know they are in on Juan Soto. We know that they are seriously bidding for Juan Soto's services, and we know that's going to cost them a whole lot of money. We also know that the odds probably aren't super fantastic that they do end up with Soto. The Mets are becoming, I think, pretty clear favorites if they weren't favorites already. So if the Red Sox were willing to spend on Juan Soto, why wouldn't they be willing to spend on a couple of pitchers on the open market? That's sort of where my head's at right now. $600 million is what they're putting on the table for Juan Soto. And right now, we don't exactly know what their proposal for Juan Soto's contract is, but even in that range, you could easily get either Burnes, Snell, or Fried, or a mix of a couple of these guys and stay within that margin as well. And that's what's sort of convincing me that this report has some smoke behind it. Again, we got to look at the source, and Bob Nightingale is not the most reliable national journalist journalists on the market, and I understand that, but at the same time too, just looking at this logically, based on everything we've seen over the offseason, yeah, I do think there's a tiny bit of smoke to this fire. Now, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, why wouldn't they just go after one of these free agent starters and then go and trade for Garrett Crochet, which has sort of been the overwhelming thought process of Red Sox fans. But we also got a report on what Garrett Crochet's current market looks like. The rumor is that a package of Casas, Abreu, and Wong isn't even enough to get that done. I'm wondering if the Red Sox actually do pivot and say, well, wait a second, that is absolutely ridiculous, because they should say that is absolutely ridiculous. That is way too much major league talent to be giving up for Garrett Crochet, and just say, okay, instead of trading, let's just offload a whole bunch of money into the free agent market. Again, I'm not sitting here saying this is something that's likely. I'm not sitting here saying that you should be holding your breath until the Red Sox come home with Corbin Burnes and Blake Snell, or Corbin Burnes and Max Fried, or maybe even Blake Snell and Max Fried, right? But I am saying maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is something that the Red Sox go and get one of these guys. Ultimately, it comes down to what the Red Sox are willing to spend, but I also think it's going to be really, really difficult for the Red Sox to land two of these guys, even if they're willing to spend an absorbent amount of money, mostly because they are all going to have really, really competitive fields. They're going to have a ton of competition for their services. The Red Sox odds of outbidding every team in Major League Baseball for 2 out of the 3 of these guys feels like it's next to none. But I'm also not going to put it at 0 either, just simply based on not just this Bob Nightingale report, but everything we've been hearing about how the Red Sox are acting on this free agent market and how it keeps getting reiterated by basically every single national reporter possible. Again, there's just simply too much smoke right now to ignore these kind of rumors, but it's not the only rumor Bob Nightingale had about the Boston Red Sox, and this one, in my opinion, is also incredibly interesting. The other piece of this report that Bob Nightingale dropped is this. The Red Sox also have strong interest in shortstop Willy Adames, who is willing to move to third base. They have scheduled an upcoming meeting and have internally discussed moving Rafael Devers off at third base. This kind of falls right in line with the report that we broke down yesterday, doesn't it? I personally kind of love the idea of Willy Adames. In fact, I've been talking about Willy Adames coming to the Boston Red Sox for, I think this is going on the 3rd season now. I wanted the Red Sox to trade for him. Basically, when I started this channel, I wanted the Red Sox to trade for him last season, and now I want the Red Sox to sign him in free agency. Now, he wouldn't be at the top of my priority list, but if there's anyone the Red Sox were going to move Rafael Devers off of third base for, especially on this open market this year, I think Willy Adames is the guy, and I think that for a couple of different reasons. One, he's only 28 years old, so he is the youngest possible right-handed option on the market. He plays a lot of games. He averaged 147 games played a year in his last 4 seasons. He's averaging 3.65 BWAR in his last 4 seasons, so he's a productive player that is available, which are 2 really big things for the Red Sox. He does have home run power with 111 home runs, or 28 home runs a year in that 4-year span, and he has a 111 OPS plus during that 4-year span as well. So what we're talking about here is a young, available, solid player who has power and who hits above average. That's a really, really productive player that the Red Sox could bring in here. And that doesn't even begin to mention the fact that Willy Adames is an absolutely fantastic defender as well. He did have a bit of a down year defensively this year, but historically, Willy Adames was one of the better defensive shortstops in baseball. Now, obviously, a move to third base would be a bit of a different position for him, but third base and shortstop are fairly similar in terms of the angles and whatnot, and I think he would be a pretty good candidate to make a really decent defensive third baseman. What I'm really interested in this report is sort of the timing of all this. We're starting to hear a lot of smoke around the idea of the Red Sox moving Rafael Devers off of third base, and it just so happens to coincide with the exact same report that the Red Sox are looking for 2 legitimate marquee free agent starting pitchers. To me, I don't think that's much of a coincidence at all. Shoring up the defense behind some of these guys could absolutely be be the draw that gets one of these players to ink their contract with the Boston Red Sox, especially when we're talking about an aging Corbin Burnes who's relying on more ground balls than he is strikeouts, or Max Fried, who has done that his entire career. And I think that is absolutely part of the reason we are seeing the idea of Rafael Devers moving off of third base. Now, what I will say is that he seems to hint that the Red Sox are looking more for Rafael Devers to take on a DH role than they are a first base role, which I really love personally. Again, I have no problem with Rafael Devers moving off of third base, especially to DH, mostly because the Red Sox never paid him to be a third baseman. They paid him to be one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball, and he can do that if he could stay healthy at the DH role, which will be much easier to achieve than it would be playing third base every single day. So I don't hate that idea. And the reason I say that he is pointing more towards going for a DH role than going for a first base role is because in this article as well, he mentions that the Red Sox would love to free up money by dumping Masataka Yoshida, but obviously to no one's surprise, they're finding limited demand for that contract. Again, this is something we've talked about for months now. The idea of trading Masataka Yoshida and opening up that DH spot. What I think is interesting about Adames specifically is he's not Bregman, who says he would move off of third base, but most likely would be a third baseman. He's not Nolan Arenado, who again is mostly a third baseman. Adames can play if you move him over to third base, shortstop, and he has played second base at the major league level as well. What this could create is a bit of versatility in the lineup. This could be a situation where, hey, maybe Rafi isn't a full-time DH, maybe he's a most of the time DH, still get some reps at third base, and you have Adames sort of flip-flop back in between Story and Rafael Devers. And on top of that, Adames also gives you a fail-safe case of emergency with Trevor Story, which I do think is important because at this point, you can't really sit there and assume that Trevor Story is going to be able to play over 100 games for the Boston Red Sox. It would be fantastic. It would make this team look a whole lot better. But again, just based on the last couple of years, the odds of Trevor Story playing a majority of the games during the 2025 season is just something I don't think the Red Sox should be willing to bet on. Getting Adames not only gives you some right-handed slugging potential, some really solid defensive ability, but it also gives you a fail-safe instead of Trevor Story. So I absolutely believe this rumor for the Boston Red Sox. I just don't know if it's their legitimate top priority right now or just something they're treading water a little bit on, trying to see what comes up. Ultimately, I still think overwhelmingly, the odds are that Rafael Devers is your opening day third baseman. What I really like about the rumors we've been hearing lately, despite whether or not we like the fits or not, is that the Red Sox are exploring all the possibilities possible for improving this Red Sox team, right? They're not just going the traditional route and looking at players that only fit a specific mold. They're looking at all players. They're meeting with a bunch of different players. They're expressing interest in a bunch of different players, trying to figure out and broaden their horizons as to what would really improve the Red Sox coming into 2025, and I think that is absolutely the best way the Red Sox should go. So I do like that rumor for this reason. I like the rumor because I just simply like Willy Adames, and I like the rumor because, again, of all the players on the open market right now, or even the trade market that could be available that would push Rafael Devers off of third base, Willy Adames absolutely makes the most sense. But looking at all of this overall, I don't know how much I'm going to put stock into this. I understand Bob Nightingale is not the most reliable source. He has gotten things wrong plenty of times in the past, but this also isn't a situation like the dream team scenario that we talked about last week, where it's some unaccredited journalist who claims to have a source within the Red Sox organization. This is an accredited national baseball reporter who, again, has gotten things right in the past, and at the same time, too, these are reports that are aligning with what everyone else is saying. It's not like he's straying from the path all that much. He's just simply reiterating some of the stuff that we've heard so far in free agency. He's also just simply adding to that stuff. To me, at the end of the day, do I think that 2 starting pitchers and Willy Adames is incredibly realistic? I honestly have no idea, but what I am going to take out of this article is what I've been taking out of most articles lately surrounding the Boston Red Sox, and that is that we as fans should have high expectations as to how this offseason is going to go. For a while, our expectations haven't been of a big market club. Now, I think they have to be. Okay, the Red Sox need to act like a big market team. Here's what I'm expecting from this team. The bar should be as high as a big market team should allow. And I think that's where I'm at with the Red Sox in free agency right now. Every single report that's coming out is pushing me more and more in the direction of this team is going to do something batty in free agency. What that ends up being, I honestly don't know. But at this point, those are my expectations, and they just simply keep getting more solidified with every report that we talk about right here on this channel. But I want your opinion as well. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about these latest Red Sox rumors? Do you like them? Do you not like them? And how possible do you think they are given the current climate of free agency? As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps these videos out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you have to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. I will see you tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, as always, in the red seats.